Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm just going back and forth to see if I could tie in some of these areas. I'm gonna take the light back down because I feel a little bit more comfortable, which I had on 30%. I like to paint on 10% because it helps me to see the values more. I was just a little bit more confused earlier. I don't know if my eyes just weren't adjusted, but I just wasn't feeling what was there. So what I'm trying to do is go in and put in the lights. I'm doing a ton of squinting here because I want to see the values in the shirt closer. I am not interested in a bunch of detail in this shirt. I just want to get the feeling of it, like I said earlier in the other video. Wherever I see things sort of meshing, or I think I found the particular color that I was looking for, and I will pursue pushing that color as well in here. Just trying to simplify the whole thing. I think I was thinking too much. I was doing too much. Sometimes you have to pull back and you have to make a decision on what it is you're trying to do, and go from there. Squinting down a lot now. This will not be my final pass on this shirt, by the way, because I know myself by the probably about the next round I have with this shirt, I'll start seeing some things that weren't there, seeing some value, seeing some values that I think could make the painting better. Maybe I've gone a little bit too light on that. Just like I said with the face, I want to sneak up on those light planes. I don't want to put them in. I want to stay in the middle for a while and see if I could get the middle working first. If I can get the middle values working first, I think it'll fall into place. Let's take that out. That's bothering me. So I'll stay in the middle for a while. Be careful with all of the too many lines. I think for some reason it sort of just it pulls my eye in the wrong direction. So I'll play with this for quite a while, and not a long time, but I do sort of try to get the. Do I think about freshness? Yes, yes. I do think about freshness. I'm not always able to get it to keep my paintings as fresh as I like them. So I think about Sargent, and I do think about the things that Sargent did, Sargent and DeLaslo, and If you don't know these people, look them up a little bit, you know. Sargent and DeLazlo, Sorolla, all of these great master painters. Well, and so I can't forget Velasquez and Anthony Van Dyke and Rembrandt, and I can just go on and on and on. Also, if you think about it, some contemporary artists like Michael Shane Neal and Jeff Hine and Semi Knox. It's just so many different people that I admire, and so when I'm struggling, sometimes I'll go back and I'll take a look at their work and see how they handle things. Not to copy what they do. I don't want to do what they do, because ultimately you have to be yourself. There's no getting around that. But it doesn't hurt to see how they handle some things, because they may handle they may handle something that's a little bit different than the way you do, and but that may help you to see how they handle it, So there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of artists do that. Matter of fact, I'm quite sure they do it. So I'm not really down here. I want to save all this. Once I get the head and this upper part working, it'll flow down a little bit. Yes, I am supposed to be working on the whole, but sometimes it doesn't work that way for me. Sometimes I have to find a solution that it's been eluding me for quite a while. So I go back and then I try to find it, and sometimes I find it, sometimes I don't. But anyway, you just give it a shot, You keep searching. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't give up. You just keep searching. You get it. If you keep searching, you're going to say, this is what I've been waiting on the whole time. There's a softness to my shirt because I wear it. I really like this shirt. My wife and daughter bought me this shirt. I can just about guarantee you this is not a shirt I probably would have purchased. But they bought it for me, so I try to wear it, and that may be too dark. Take it down a little bit. I'll go back and forth with trying to make things work. Trying to make it work out. So anyway, there's a softness to this shirt. That's what I was saying. And I will attempt to get that softness, because I know I couldn't tell you what kind of shirt it is, though, but my wife and daughter could. I wish I knew more about stuff. If they get me stuff, I'll just wear it, See this here? I'll just lightly brush over and just break that up a little bit. Show that there's a connection there. Now, I'm painting right now, but I have a black and white, I'm using the black and white reference. Let me show you if you can't see it. Just gonna turn the camera a little bit. That's what I'm painting from. It's a black and white. The reason being, because it seems like I'm getting, I can see the values better on a black and white. That's why. I was doing this with this, okay. It's too cool. So I go between warm and cool on this. But, when I'm putting some things in, when I'm putting in values. Took me a while to find the, here's the deal. Let me clarify, let me clean it up. It took me a while to feel comfortable with this color. Not so much the values, but getting an understanding of not just the color, but the values, the comfortableness of it, you know? So sometimes it flows right in there, and then other times it does not. So I just go back and forth until I feel comfortable with it. And so that's the exploration part of my painting process. I go in and I'm working something and it doesn't feel right today. It doesn't mean that it's not gonna feel right the next day, but I have to give myself the opportunity to sort of play around with it so I can feel its presence or what I'm trying to do. And after a while of joying with this, going back and forth, it starts to manifest itself a little bit more and the understanding. But like they say, you have to be in the game to understand the game. So being in this game, going back and forth, gives me the opportunity to say, okay, this is what I'm looking for, you know, and just be honest with yourself. You know, you tell yourself from time to time, I tell myself, look, this is the best I could do. After I've exhausted everything, you know, I've struggled with the image. I've struggled with value and color and shape and form. I mean, the list just goes on and on, you know. And then finally, there's a break. And then you're like, wow, I've been working all week for this break. And finally, something is working for me. Besides that, I like surface quality, which I've talked about on some of my other videos. So playing with this, drawing with this quite a bit, give me the opportunity to play with surface quality. You know, just remember, if you're using oil, try to go fat over lean. So meaning that I'm adding just a little bit more oil with each layer, which I do. There comes a time, there's still some times though that I do use a dry brush technique. You know, meaning that I'm just, you know, just a good clean brush. I'm just putting some paint on it without any medium because it's requiring that without medium. And I do that from time to time. Clean brush, no medium, trying to get the effect that I'm trying to get. Can't wait to really dig into this. And you don't have to rush it. That's what I'm telling you. You don't have to rush it. Don't rush it. Take your time. Get it the way you want it, as was told to me by Mr. Knox. If you don't know Mr. Simi Knox, give him a look. Give him a quick look. He painted the portraits of the Clintons, the official White House portraits for the Clintons. Give Mr. Knox a shout out. He's such a nice guy. There's a lot of artists that I admire. So if you hear me speaking of them, because they've impacted me in so many different ways, you know. Going back and searching for form here. You know, what's going on, you know. Just remember, you may not get it today, that's okay. But there's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. And I'm thinking optimistically. The genius of Sargent, man, he would just put a big stroke there. And he just said, oh man, that's it. That was a stroke I've been waiting on all week. Using the side of the brush. You know, each one of these folds also have they have form. So you get a dark, middle to light value. And I'll push that as long as I can get it. Sometimes it comes right up. Sometimes I don't get it right off. But that's the goal here, is to try to make it feel three-dimensional as best you can. You know, don't punish yourself. But everything has a everything on the body has form to it. Even the shirts, even the something as simple as a fold. Isn't that something else? A fold. Adding some cool tones in here. Where I think the form is turning, I try to add some cool tones. Next time I paint on this shirt, it would be just on the lights. I want to sneak up on those lights like we discussed. I want to sneak up on those lights. And there will be some time to where I have to go back and then restate some of the darks. They're not automatic. Sometimes I have to go back and say, wow, okay, I've established too many lights. So where's some subtle change in the format? Like this is the arm, right? So I know my arm is underneath here, and then this is the meaty part, or the fat part of the arm. It's going to show just a little bit more dark in the creases. Let's take that out. I didn't care for that. You see, so it's starting to make sense then. So if it's there, then I go over here. This is what I mean by exploring, you know. You play with it long enough, you get it. You get what you're looking for. I have to squint down a little bit. I can see where the arm sort of rotates. So I'm chasing the form. What I'm doing is I'm chasing the form underneath my shirt. That's what's going on here. Chasing the form underneath my shirt. I like a lot of people don't like line. I was trained by my mentor to embrace line. So, but I try to use it strategically. So as I'm painting, I am thinking of line, but I'm thinking of how strategically can it be put in, you know. Restate that dark. Sometimes I make it a little bit too dark. When you see shadows underneath, like collars and stuff like that, that's not total dark under there. It should feel airy. Meaning that just like in here, this should feel airy. I should be able to take my finger and run it underneath that. So there's an airiness to that. How do you get that airiness to come out by? You have to go just a touch lighter in some areas in there. So you have to, what I mean is you have to see into that shadow. I'm trying to see into the shadow just a bit. So I don't want to extend it too much. This is still drying from last night. So I don't want to mess with that. So if it's there, I want to have that same feeling. I didn't do anything to this up here. So same thing. This was sort of wet too from yesterday. So I'm just repeating. Sometimes you can draw part, you can put in part of the shadow underneath, then not the whole thing. That way you won't have this line that just continues forever. It'll sort of what am I trying to say? Yeah. So it won't flatten your image. I think sticking with just a solid line could be just too much. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, the having a line that doesn't break at all. I like for some break. As I'm squinting down, so I started thinking, well, then where does things join? You know, it could be in there, you know, to where it's a softer line. Because I'm thinking about the form more so than I am any of the other possible things in there. Let's lighten it up a little bit. Not lighten it up, but sort of help it just a bit. I feel like it was too. Okay. This was too warm in there. It was a little bit too warm, and it's not showing the transition that I wanted it to do. So I'll go back and I'll just sort of work with that transition just a little bit.